point a few years ago that he was in, he would not have received this crown. Because he didn't learn the art of self-denial. In other words, he gave in to his appetite. And you find that God allowed him to suffer some things here on earth. And God will do that. But the thing is that we need to realize that we don't want to stand at the judgment seat of Christ and perhaps see so many whom we've shared the gospel with, talked about the church with, talked about Jesus with, and maybe they received the incorruptible crown, and find that it's been denied to us because even though we may have preached, as we call it, to others, we have not learned to keep our body under subjection. Have not learned to bring it into subjection. Have not learned to keep it under, delivering the fatal blows to it and saying, you're going to behave. The second thing we find in this scripture is the word castaway. A lot of people try to say this word castaway means that Paul was saying that I'm going to get to heaven one day and it'll be up to the Lord whether or not I get to stay there. That's not what Paul's referring to. The word in the Greek means unapproved or worthless. It wasn't the Apostle Paul was afraid that he would stand at the judgment seat of the Christ and the Lord cast him out of heaven. It wasn't that at all. He was fearful that when he stood before the judgment seat, he might be disapproved for the crown, the incorruptible crown. It meant a lot to Paul. Can't you see him standing there before the judgment seat of Christ with eagerness? He has run the race. Oh, he wants the crown so much. As everybody else around him and many others are getting the crown, he thinks soon it's going to be my turn to step up and receive the incorruptible crown. They're going to pass him by, and he wonders what the reason for that is. Then he's reminded that he is not worthy to receive the incorruptible crown. He is disapproved. As far as receiving the incorruptible crown is concerned anyway. Were he to pursue the matter and say, but Christ, why? I've preached and I've worked, why? Then Christ could say to him, because you never learned to control your body. That's why. You never learned to control your fleshly desires. You never learned to keep your body under. You never learned to be spirit controlled. I trust tonight that this message will bring its own application to our hearts. In closing, let me say this. I seriously, and I say that honestly, I seriously doubt that there is anyone under the sound of my voice that has heard this tonight, myself included, who does not need, at least in some measure, the application of this message. You see, all of us here tonight have this opportunity of either receiving the incorruptible crown, the crown of self-denial, or losing the crown of self-denial. At the moment, I know tonight you may say, well, it's not that big a deal. It's not a big deal whether I get it or not. But I beg you tonight, don't think in terms of temporary. Don't think of it in terms tonight as just a temporary thing. Let's think of the eternal relevance it has tonight. Don't think of it as you feel right now in your flesh. Because perhaps you could even care less right now, but think of it in terms of how you're going to feel when you stand at the judgment seat of Christ. As you certainly will be there, and as you see many others around you begin to receive the crown of self-denial or the incorruptible crown. And you stand there, you don't have it yourself, all because you wouldn't allow your life to be spirit-controlled and take control of your flesh and have some self-control. Wouldn't that be a shame tonight? You see, I've heard people ask, preacher, that's going to be such a glorious day, and I believe it will, as long as you're getting crowns. Because you know that you're going to give them all back to the feet of Jesus. But I can't imagine standing there knowing He gave me everything I needed to win the race. Everything I needed to come out on top in the fight. And I just blew it. I didn't use the skills. I didn't use the abilities, the training. I didn't use anything. And the reason I didn't get it is because of my lack of self-control. How sad that would be. How bad I'm going to feel when I stand before Jesus and see Him look at me with all the self-control He had. With the wounds in His hands, His feet, and His brow, and say, Jody, I don't have a crown of incorruption for you. I can say, why, Lord? I preached. I led many to the throne of God. I pastored churches. He's going to say, Jody, you did all that. But you never learned to control your flesh. Whether it was anger, jealousy, backbiting, lust, gluttony, it's all back to the flesh. You say, preacher, I think I've got a good handle on some of my stuff now. That's the problem, church. We try to get a handle on it, when in truth it's got a handle on us. We need to turn it over and let the Lord have it. Let Him take control of our lives. Tonight, let's stand to our feet, heads bowed and eyes closed.